Today, Kathy's podcast is about her brand new book. It was published on National Quitters Day and is named Winners or Quitters. Her husband John is joining us while we discuss the journey she went through while writing her book.
Today, we're going to spend a little bit of time going behind the scenes and just hearing from the author herself. Let's jump in. So, Kathy, congratulations on the publishing of your brand new book.
So, Kathy, to start, what facilitated you sitting down to write your book?
So there's actually like two times. First of all, I've always said, yeah, I'm going to write a book someday. And I actually have some notes on some ideas of what I'd write about, but nothing really like hit me until last year. I was in a storytelling contest and we were at the event. The event was over. We were in line getting food and I was talking to one of my speaker friends and she commented on my presentation and said, I love Vince Lombardi. I love, obviously Packer coach, we're Wisconsinites, but I don't like his quote that winners never quit and quitters never win. I don't think that's true. And I love what you talked about because winners are quitters and we have to be. And the way she said it, I was like, there it is. Okay, I need to start writing. And I did, like within a month, I started my writing.
If we can go back for a second, what is the storytelling contest?
So there's within the National Speakers Association, the Wisconsin chapter is putting on this storytelling contest, and the winner goes on to a regional and then finally a national contest in July. The whole process is not about winning. It's an amazing speaker contest to perfect your speaking and your stories. So last year I talked about the same story that's in the book. I was a young pilot at age 16 years old, and I talked about just my experiences and how I was guided to quit. I was never encouraged to quit. I was just asked some simple questions like, hey, why are you doing this? So that's the story that I shared last year. And that's what got, conversation going with other people and kind of took the whole book from there.
How much of this journey surprised you?
95%. And the other 5%, I knew it was going to be hard. So that didn't surprise me, but everything else about it, I get very, attitude-y when things don't happen fast enough. So for me, I wasn't writing fast enough. It wasn't coming together fast enough. It wasn't, and then let's get the writing done and talk about publishing. Oh, that was a whole different beast. I mean, everything about it surprised me. Even the process, like there are processes out there that are recommended on how to write a book. You start with note cards, you start with your table of contents, you start with an outline. I mean, gosh, we're going back to high school English class for me, but to start with all of that, I kind of jumped right in and then I had to backtrack. So, that was a surprise for me. But yeah, the whole process was a complete surprise. I had no idea what to expect fully, and I had no idea how hard it was going to be.
What didn't surprise you?
It was going to be hard. I'm not a writer, right? So I didn't go to school for journalism or anything like that. I'm an accountant by degree. There's a big difference between numbers and writing. But for me, my son always says, you write like you speak. And I always took that as such a compliment. I'm like, well, thank you. He's like, no, because all three of my kids were blessed with this amazing ability to write and tell stories. It's just wonderful to watch them in action. So when Jordan, critiqued me that I write like I speak, he really had to explain that. He's like, when you speak, you're animated, you're to the point. When you write, you have to add more, because we don't see you or hear you necessarily. So you have to enlarge the picture. And that was, my daughter is a journalist and constantly she's like, Mom, come on, tell me more of the story. You got to show me with your words. That's hard. That's hard.
You spoke to a lot of people through the publishing process. What was one situation that scared or frustrated you?
That's when I got the most attitude-y. That's when I really got angry. So I learned there's 3 ways to publish a book for all of you, your future book. Here it is, 3 ways. Number 1, you can get a publisher. What happens then? I mean, really, they're going to pay you to write. They're going to take care of all the expenses of editors and all of that. They're going to market your book. I mean, it's beautiful, right? But then that publisher owns the rights of your book. That's an issue. So, and you got to be big. You got to be like John Maxwell for a publisher to look at you. I'm not. They're looking at who's your followers, how many YouTube subscribers, how many do you have in your newsletter? They're looking at business. So I knew that already. That's not going to be me right now. Maybe the next book, but not right now, right? So let's look at self-publishing. Well, there's two angles to that. You can hire somebody to do all of the background work, or you do it yourself, every piece of it. If you hire somebody, it's anywhere from $10,000 to $60,000. And that's when I got mad, and I'm like, I'm self-publishing. I'm not being paid to write. I mean, this is stupid crazy. And then, I mean, when I get angry, here's a huge learning lesson, especially through writing the book. When I get this attitude like this, it's just myself reminding me that I've got the tools. I've got the resources. I have to tap into it. It's not going to be easy. People aren't coming to me. I gotta push myself to tap into it. I lived in Dubuque, Iowa for over 30 years. I worked for 3 different publishing companies during those 30 some years. I know people. I know a place to get my book printed. I've worked with them before in other businesses. My neighbor and good friend is the one who actually did all of my content editing. And what that means is, no, she's not content editing. She's composition editor. There's a lot of editors, by the way. She took my whole manuscript and made it digital, and she designed the inside of my book. That was the only person I paid money to, except Kristen. Kristen joined us. She's the marketing person. She's the one who created all the visuals and the cover. Oh my gosh, how much time did we put into this cover, right? So Kristen I paid, and then Karen is my composition editor. That's the only money I put toward it because I know people. My gosh, my kids are amazing writers. They were my editors. Grammarly was my what kind of editor when they not proofread, but they look for commas and spelling. When Karen got a hold of my book, she said there was only one grammatical error in the whole book. That's including punctuation, everything. And it was the word forward.
Wow.
In the beginning, the forward, it's not FOR or FOWARD, like I'm moving forward. It's FOREWORD. So, I mean, Grammarly wasn't even finding it, right? Because I spelt the word right. I just didn't use the right word. So I was okay with that.
John, as Kathy's husband, you've watched her through this process. What surprised you?
Wow, that's a great question. I actually have an answer that popped right in. Now here's my answer. Let me paint a picture first. One of the Kathy's superpowers is the word is coming to me as dedication, right? She's consistently dedicated to the things she does. So the cadence that we wake up on is I get up first and I do some meditation and mindfulness on the sofa, let her sleep in a little bit. I take care of the dogs, get them fed. And then about 5 o'clock, she wakes up. Now, during this whole process, when she comes out of the bedroom and she sits at the dining room table, I'll go upstairs on our loft and I'll put on my headphones and have positive affirmation, meditation type of thing, red light, blah, blah, blah. Every day throughout this whole process, she was at that table writing from 5 to 6 without missing a beat. Even on weekends, she would go out. When I was now on weekends, I stay in bed. But the dedication that it took her, the commitment, it was humbling for me. And I would say this even if she wasn't here, that she was constantly at that table, even when I know she didn't want to, because she had a purpose. She wanted, Kathy, am I right? You wanted to have this in published form by the end of the year.
Yeah, I heard Mel Robbins say that she's got a new book coming out and I wanted to beat her, and I didn't, but it's okay. No, I was goal setting with Mel Robbins, but yeah, I wanted it by the end of the year. I was 10 days late. I'm okay.
So to answer your question, the dedication, the commitment to it was amazing and humbling. And it kind of, I looked into, it's not about me, but I thought, geez, there's no way I could do this.
Regarding that, I could not find time in my day to write because I'm working, I'm teaching, I'm training, I'm coaching, I have meetings, I have clients, so I had to find like more time in my day. And that's why I chose the 5 to 6. I love that hour of the day. Oh my gosh, it's amazing productivity. Um, I'm still doing it now. Like my next project, I'm doing it at 5 o'clock in the morning again. And so those little wins too that I found, again, I had an attitude. I'm like, oh, I can't find time to write. I get so whiny. I hate that, but yet it's such a like clue. When I get whiny, I know that I'm on the verge of something really great. So I'm embracing it more.
Kathy, what was your main driving force that got you to today?
What kept me from quitting? I wrote the book Winners Are Quitters, remember? Uh, so I'm a winner, right? But I did take breaks, and then it wasn't always 5 days a week. I did not do it on weekends in the beginning. And many times it may have been just 3 times, 4 times a week. So I wasn't hard on myself if it just wasn't going to work out. Like Friday mornings at 6 o'clock, I go to the fitness center and I work with a trainer. I didn't get my writing in. I'm okay with it. But I did take some longer breaks, especially in the end. I have like a time period where there was like a 1 to 2 week break, and oh, I had to. Because at the end is when editing came about. And what I did is I sent editing to all my kids and daughter-in-law and my husband and another friend, I think it was. And then the edits came back, and then my daughter came for a retreat day, and she's tough. Oh my gosh. It was awful. I was so attitudey that day because we got nowhere. We were supposed to get through 9 chapters, and it took us 3 hours to get through one. And then we took a break and we went for a walk, and then I took 2 weeks off, and I'm like, this is hard. So it did me a lot of good. It revived me, and I was excited to get back to my book. So again, those learning lessons where I didn't quit, I just paused, or I took a time out. Just like we need a weekend, I needed a time away from the book. And what happened during that time is it created more content in my head, and it helped me kind of step back and see the whole picture and realize where maybe I had some gaps in the writing where I needed to expound a little bit. So yeah, there was so much benefit to all of it. And then Mel Robbins motivated me to push it in and get it done by the end of the year. So again, then I'm kickstarted. So I didn't quit. I just took breaks.
Why was writing this book so important to you?
Because I'm a speaker. And as a speaker, what I've learned is when you are talking to people, they want more of you. They want to take you home with them. And YouTube's not enough. And they want something in writing so that they can digest it. So that was it. That was my driving factor. I need books because people are asking for it. Now, saying all that, this is kind of like been my script. It's now my script. I mean, I have a keynote called Thinking Differently for a Change, and it's the book. It's the content in the book. So I would say, Rick, that was my driving factor. The reason why I was so attitudey, it wasn't getting done fast enough, is because I had people asking for it like 12 months ago, and I didn't have it. So I felt like I lost my audience, or I lost their interest because I didn't have the tool ready.
Have you found that companies that engage you for speaking engagements expect you to have a book?
Oh yeah, and it does. It raises my level of credibility. There's a conference that I'm applying for, and they ask, "Do you have a book?" I mean, the bigger places, "Do you have a book?" And if I say no, it does decrease the communication and the offers. So,
did you have any legal expenses? Did you trademark your model? And how was that process?
yes, my model is trademarked. What an interesting process. There's trademark, there's copyright, there's registered. There's different for models versus words. So thankfully, in the National Speakers Association that I'm a part of, we have amazing people. One gentleman came and spoke to our chapter at the perfect time, and he's an attorney that just specializes in trademarking. So you pay one fee to the government. I think that was like $250, and then you pay a fee to him because he's going to do all the processing. So the processing's done for this actual image, only the image, okay? And that's why really, really tiny, there's a little TM here. What TM means is I've applied or I have intent to apply for, I think it's copyright, but I've not been approved yet. And I may never be approved. But the fact that I have a TM legally protects me. The approval is about 12 to 14 months. So my friend Russ, who did all of the paperwork, he's watching things and he's keeping track. And in about probably still another 10 months is when I'll switch my little icon once I get the approval from the government. But my next thing is the word Think Diff. I'm going to trademark that next. That way I can have a Think Diff model, a Think Diff worksheet, a Think Diff keynote, all of that. Just Think Diff is my next thing that I will be trademarking for legal purposes. Oh, there's one more thing I had to pay for, and that's the ISBN numbers. You have to buy the ISBN is your book number, and I bought a 10 pack because you need an ISBN for the book, the ebook, the Audible. Right there, I already used 3. So
To have this all come to fruition, I know you needed a tribe. Can you briefly acknowledge your tribe?
there are so many angles to my tribe. First of all, every one of you are my tribe, right? Every one of you have been so encouraging and curious, and I thank you for that. And then I want to point out Lori Fleming and Kristen Sykes. Okay, this is my tribe. Lori is my assistant, my virtual assistant, and Kristen is my marketing. Kristen's the one who makes everything pretty. Like, okay, she didn't take this picture. By the way, this is me. This is my senior picture. So this is 30 some years ago. She didn't take the picture, but we got approval from the photographer. So she designed the cover. She designed the back cover. She designed all the images that we see, everything you see on the website. And together, Lori, Kristen, and together we meet every single week and continue to build Unity Consulting. So thank you, Lori. Thank you, Kristen. You guys are the magicians. I love you guys and appreciate all of the magic that you put together. And then there's another angle to my tribe that came together last February. No, it was last April. I had started writing the book and I was kind of playing with some things, like with my story and just where am I going to go here in the book. And I was teaching in Dubuque at the Leadership Academy down at the community college. And I kind of mentioned that I used to fly airplanes. And they're like, wait a minute, what? They're like, we've known Kathy for how many weeks and we didn't know this about you? And then I kind of mentioned that I was writing a book. And they're like, hold on a minute. We didn't know that either. And then they wanted to hear my story. So I shared my 5-minute story about flying airplanes and the whole concept of the book. And they got so excited. One person says, are you going to record this so it's available on Audible? Because your storytelling and the way you're telling your stories, that alone is worth, I'd rather listen to it than read it. And I'm like, I'm just trying to write a book. I haven't even thought about Audible. Really, but their excitement, they became my book journey group. And like I created a group, right, in LinkedIn with them and an email group. And I kept them posted throughout the year. I would send pictures and be like, hey, what should my cover be? What do you guys think of this? Or here's an update. And the excitement that they gave me right away in the beginning is what really helped jumpstart me to realize that, wow, people want to hear it. But I want to talk about the model. So I started writing in March. The model, I didn't even think of a model until September. Like this whole time I'm writing this book and the model is a huge portion of the book. And it didn't even come together until September. So when I get attitude-y, I also have found to realize that it has to take time. It took, 6-7 months for me to put things together, even though I had my note cards and I had a table of contents and all of that. It took time. And that's just the reality of something that's worth it.
Unpack one of the lessons from the book. And why do you choose that one?
Okay, so the primary story in the book is about when I was a teenager and I had the opportunity to fly airplanes, and I had a lot of scary experiences. My dad just finished the book the other night and he's like, I had no idea. I'm like, you were right there with me, Dad. He's like, I had no idea that you're so some fun stories, right? Because I'm alive. So those are fun stories. Uh, by writing the book, I realized how I figured out to quit. And I realized this model that I was following, I didn't define it at age 17. I didn't define it until less than a year ago because I started analyzing what am I doing? How did I do this? So the model is kind of three stages: push, be, do. I do use this today. So another story that I share in the book is getting a little personal. Thank you, John, for giving me permission to write and share the story. Uh, I use it in my marriage. And it was last summer. He ticked me off, let's just say. I don't know how else to say it. We were like on a 3-day fight. Some of you are like, what? That couldn't happen between you two. Nope, it does. I was very, very upset. And I went to the library with my whole notebook. This is my writing a book notebook. Okay. I went with my whole stuff and I just sat and stewed. And then it hit me. And I didn't have this created yet. Okay. So this was like last June when I'm at the library. This wasn't created till September. But I literally did it. I did it without the model. So when I put it, when I came with the visual idea, it totally made sense. I'm like, I just did it to work through a problem with John. I just pushed. I pondered my options. I unemotionalized. I slowed down. I humbled myself. The most important piece of the model is the second major component, and that's the B. So once we can push and really kind of put ourselves into the right mindset, then the main question in life to ask ourselves is, who do you want to be?
We're always asked, what do we want to do? Why is the better question, who do you want to be?
I think another story in the book I tell is of our son Jordan, was in the military for 6 years. And when he came out, he civilian life now. And the weekend before he started a job, we're sitting by the pool and I'm like, hey, Jordan, what's something you want to do now that you're a civilian? He's like, really? I want to get back in shape. And I said, who do you need to be to do that? And it shocked me. I had answers for him if he couldn't figure it out. It shocked me because he said, I need to be disciplined. And I think he actually said consistent as well. I need to be disciplined and consistent. And I'm like, whoa, what do you mean? He's like, well, I need to consistently go to the gym. I need to consistently get up every morning and do my workout. I need to consistently do the strength training. And after he answered that, then I said, well, what do you need to do to be consistent? He's like, well, I need to join a gym. I need to go get the right workout equipment. I need to set my alarm every day at 4:30 so I get up into the gym by 5. So naturally, once he figured out who he wants to be, the do was easy. The do was easy. It was like a duh moment. But how often do we start with do? Oh, and by the way, behind me is the thought cycle. That's another huge model within the book. And every thought then creates an emotion, which creates an action, which creates a result. A do question is an action question. If somebody's going to share a result, oh, my fingers are going the wrong way. If somebody's going to share a result with you, that's their goal. If you say, oh, what are you going to do to reach that goal? You're forgetting about the key point of our thoughts, and that's our being. So if you have your own goal, don't sabotage your thought cycle. Don't go right into your task list. Figure out who you want to be, and that helps create your task list. There's so much power in this if we use the systems that our body has biologically created.
What sources of negativity did you encounter?
I think the most was in my head. It was my own stories or like the attitude-itis, right? My frustrations from the external world. The support was amazing. That surprised me. I don't know why that surprised me. People are amazing, right? But the support was there. it was just it's my own negativity that stumbled me, but then again, created those opportunities for me to really think differently and tap into what I already knew.
Is there an area where you grew during this process?
So, that attitude, it's the best word I got. I'm very quick to get an attitude because my pace, I want things to happen faster than maybe they can in life. That has been my biggest growth. I've really embraced that emotion. It means something in me. It means I'm on the verge of thinking differently. It means I'm on the verge of creativity. It means I'm on the verge of problem solving. And so I'm paying more attention and embracing it instead of getting angry about it and pushing it away even more.
When you say it wasn't going fast enough, what do you mean by it?
So it is like the right answer or the right opportunity. So like, yeah, when it came to actually printing the book and going through that process, there's so many options. And there's so many companies who specialize in self-publishers. They want to help you self-publish, but it costs something, a lot. So that's the it, right? That the it was always whatever it was that was not easy for me, which nothing is ever easy, but yet I was looking for it. I was expecting it. So when that wasn't happening, then that's when I got my attitude. And that's when I started realizing, oh, wait a minute. There's something here. There's something that, the world's trying to tell me that I might have the answer. I just have to think differently about it.
What advice would you give to writers who don't know people in the industry? I would assume that different companies have a range of results in publishing.
I think the range of results is probably related to marketing. Like they're going to, this is me trying to market my book. Well, I should say me, Kristen, and Lori trying to market my book. So it's happening slower than if you were to partner with an organization who has it. So you hear how other people are publishing books and you talk to them and you get the names. Hey, who was your composition editor? How did you do it? How did you get it printed? Do you know how to do Amazon? Do you know how to do Audible? And that's exactly, I mean, it's like piecing it together that's how I did it. Is there a downfall to it? Yes, because sales aren't going to skyrocket overnight like Mel Robbins does. It might be a little slower, but that I know that. I'm okay with that, right?
What was one of your favorite experiences while writing this book?
It came to editing. So I mentioned earlier that I tapped into my family. All my kids have this amazing, they always got in trouble in school because they would be reading a book when they should be studying their content. What a great problem, right? So they have this reading comprehension, amazing ability. They can write, they tell stories. All four of them. One's married now, and she's got it too. So I printed my whole manuscript and I handed it over with a 4-color pen, to whatever you got to do to mark it up. And then they gave them back to me. That's not easy because you're like, oh dear Lord, what are they? Is it just a typo or is it something like this is stupid, Mom? Right? That was so much fun. I have this, by the way, this is my book writing bag, and it's very heavy because I have 5 different envelopes full of the manuscript of each of my kids and my husband. So going through it, yeah, there were some good typos, whatever. But then so my middle son, Jake, he's like your superhero type of storyteller. Halfway in between, when I'm talking about Captain America in the book, he's like, Mom, I think you missed it. This is not Captain America's biggest strength. His biggest strength is the fact that he could bring people together and encourage them to be a good leader. That was his strength. I'm like, well, that's got to go in the book, doesn't it? So then I flipped through a few pages and I talked about how I enjoy writing or reading the manual of my electronic typewriter. That's aging me, that's for sure. And that's when he wrote, he's like, Mom, I am literally LOLing right now. This is so hilarious. So they would leave me little notes like that just kept me encouraged. And then there was another page where he wrote out the Jedi Oath. If you are a Star Wars fan, the Jedi Oath, didn't know it was really a thing, didn't pay attention to the movies. He wrote it all out. He's like, this is exactly what you're talking about. I didn't use that in the book because I was already on superheroes, but just the way they were thinking. And then my daughter-in-law, Brittany, she's a scientist, and she would come in with, you just didn't expect it from her. And you're like, whoa, Jordan and Jake were totally silent on these pages, and Brittany like lit it up with multiple colors. And then my daughter, she gave me my first chapter and said, I'm not doing any more until you get through everybody else's edits. And then I'm going to come in and work with you and rewrite it all. Okay. And she came for a retreat day, and it was challenging because it was not going fast enough. That's when I took a 2-week break afterwards, and that was beneficial. But what I really learned is some key points like transitioning from chapter to chapter. You got to tell people where they left off because they could have put a bookmark and sat the book down for a week. And then expounding the story to how to show it with words. She really did an amazing job at explaining some journalist things to me, and relating it to me without that journalism degree. So that was an unexpected joy that I definitely had.
What's next? Do you have another project coming down the pike?
Okay, so I've got two, but I only have 1 hour a morning to work on this. Not only, but that's my time. 5 to 6 a.m. That's when I work on it. So the next project that I'm working on is called Midwest Leadership Experience. So this is a retreat that John and I are creating up here in the woods of Wisconsin. Up here, how about Wisconsin, central Wisconsin? We moved up here a little over a year ago and really slowed down. Like, we're not in a big city anymore that has conveniences. We are, we're 2 miles from Dollar General and Quick Trip, but we're 30 miles from Walmart. Okay, so we're like, we're roughing it. We've slowed down. It's all good. And the benefits that have come out of it are amazing. Because when you slow down and get back to nature and take time to think, creativity happens. You get clarity on your purpose. There's so much value to this. So we're encouraging people to come for the Midwest charm of cheese, brats, and supper clubs, but stay for the creativity and clarity of purpose. So this retreat is a time where we're going to get back to nature. We're going to put our cell phones away, but we're literally going to put it on airplane mode. You can use it as a camera or alarm clock, but we're not connected to the world. We're going to put it all away. What happens when we get bored? You're not going to grab your phone. We're going to find out other ways to lean into, when you get attitude-y, how can we lean into that? Digital detox. People don't do that these days. And that's where we're going to encourage people. We're going to give them the opportunity. We're going to show them how they can add this into their daily life so that they don't lose this clarity once they leave the Midwest Leadership Experience. So I'm working on a website. We got to figure out exactly how to sell it, and then bring in groups for the retreat. That's my next thing. After that, it's going to be another book. I've got one kind of working up here in my head. So
can you give us a hint on the title of your next book?
Yeah. So this is Winners Are Quitters. The next book is going to be Quitters Are Winners.
This book included the Think Diff model. Do you have a model for the new book?
It might be the same model, just given in different concepts. So what's happened, especially in the last year, I have many, many good friends who are saying things to me like, how come I never knew that about you? Well, for one, they didn't know I flew airplanes. They didn't know I played volleyball in college. They didn't know, so many things that I'm like, I don't know. Why don't you know that about me? But when I think about it, the things they don't know about me, I either quit, I lost, or I wasn't any good at it. So why would I talk about it? Well, we're winners, even when we quit. And by quitting, we become winners. So that whole mindset is you have to process through the things that you've done in life, come to grips with it, and that has put you on the winner block. So different spin to it, different stories, but still probably that model. We'll see.
And just to give a little bit more teaser on the Midwest Leadership Experience, we're out partnering with other companies, horseback riding. The boats and the jet skis are all there. We have land with ATVs. And so there's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of digital detox. And so hopefully it's something that will draw them in to grow themselves. So that's awesome.
John and Kathy, thank you so much for answering our questions today. We appreciate you taking the time to tell us about the book and the process you went through while publishing it. We are looking forward to what you have next. Thanks.
Yes. Have a great day.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.